First, we'll look at the questions. We've got a primary purpose question. Now we've got a line reference question in line 11 to Ma Yidan's life. We've got a reference to Mary Wang's life. We have another line reference question. Then we want the author's opinion of Chinese American identity. And then we're going to want to be concerned about what the Joy Luck Club reference emphasizes. One's identity is infinitely complex and entangled. Gender, race, place of origin, wealth, place of longest residence, age, build, personality, religion, horoscope, self-esteem are among the myriad of identifying indicators. When two sets of genes form inconsistent double helixes, when different races color those winding ladders of DNA, one cannot identify themselves with a tidy one-word answer. A female especially, born into two different male-dominated cultures, is particularly difficult to pigeonhole. When do immigrants adopt their new cultural identity? Ma Yidan, for instance, was born in China, resided in Italy, England, France, Russia, and India. Mary Wang also typifies this identity dilemma in that her mother was Chinese and Italian, and her father was Chinese. She was born in the United States, had a British nanny, was schooled in France, and currently lives in Germany. As a writer, Wang was lauded by scholars as an Asian American writer, but soon criticized for her absence of ethnic themes in her work. What further entangles these multicultural identities are the societal and otherwise external aspects of one's identity. Immigrants recently have felt isolation and alienation in the United States. This is normal. But when the immigrants' American-born children are asked how they are so proficient in English already, they too feel alienated. The acknowledged twofold awareness of African Americans, that they always see themselves through the lens of others' hostility and pity, can also apply to Chinese Americans. But even if they went to China, that society would prove equally as unfamiliar. In the Joy Luck Club, Lindo tells her daughter that in China, they will know you are a foreigner even if you do not open your mouth. They will see your expression and posture and just know. Question number 1 asks us for the primary purpose of the passage. As we read the passage, we can see a few key points. One's identity is complex and entangled, and there are a myriad or a lot of indicators. Then the author asks, when do immigrants get their identity? And it talked about Mary Wang was lauded, but then also criticized. And we can say they ask about what further entangles identities, and that even in China, society would be unfamiliar. And then it talks about an existence between two isolating worlds. Okay, let's look at our answer choices for the primary purpose of this passage. And remember that we're looking to eliminate answer choices. Well, if we look at answer A, the contradictory feelings of identity that Chinese Americans and other multicultural authors experience. Well, they're kind of talking about authors, but this is in the ballpark of what we're talking about, because it certainly is contradictory feelings about identity and self. But let's look at the other answer choices. Okay, the passage was not trying to influence or tell Chinese American authors to do anything, so we can rule out B. Now, educate Chinese Americans about authors. Yes, they are trying to educate the readers about authors who share some of the same struggles, but it's not just targeting Chinese Americans in any way that we can see in the passage. Laud or praise Chinese American authors? No, they're not really doing that. They're more explaining the troubling backgrounds. And no, they're not disputing those who would renounce Chinese for not having a worldly part. There wasn't any criticism of that. There was more of a description. So we are left with A as our answer. And now we're looking for the line reference of Ma Yidan's life. Why was it referred to? Remember, with line reference questions, you're not going to be confined usually to just that line. Your answer is probably not going to come from that specific line. And in this case, it doesn't. It talks about Ma Yidan was born in China, resided in Italy, England, France, Russia, and India. But the key phrase is this identity dilemma. So it's a problem she's having. Okay, now remember we're looking for some type of problem here because it was a dilemma. Well, we've got one in A, the complications of identifying oneself after multiple relocations. That's pretty on target because it did talk about her living in many different spots. Let's make sure there's not a better answer, though. Okay, to show the advantageous, no, we're not talking about an advantage. To show how social class sways how people view ethnic identity. Social class didn't come into this. This was talking about locations, not talking about the benefits of life experiences. Remember, this is a dilemma. Okay, in E we have disjointing results, but it's of excessive travel. No, this isn't of just traveling. This is identity. This is living places. So A is our answer. And now we want to know what Mary Wang's life reveals about her. Well, first we've got Mary Wang typifying this identity dilemma. And in this case, it's her mother was Chinese and Italian, her father was Chinese. She was born in the United States, had a British nanny, was schooled in France, and currently lives in Germany. So she's been all over the place and influenced by multiple sources. And yet she's criticized for her absence of ethnic themes in her work. Frankly, this is not a real tough question, but your answer choices make it tough. We've got to be very critical here and look for reasons to eliminate answer choices. Okay, in A, we've got that she was unaware of American culture. No, that's off topic. It's more that she was not writing about a specific culture. That she was alienated from other authors. No, she was criticized by some, but not alienated. Worried about acquiring a distinct, no, not about acquiring a distinct writer's voice. Okay, that she was averse to associating with one cultural group. That's what they were criticizing her for, was she didn't have an ethnic voice. So that could be our answer choice. And E, that she was attempting to persuade a group of leaders. No, she was not trying to persuade anybody. So D is our answer. We want to know what the author's referring to when she, in line 20, mentions societal and otherwise external aspects. So we're talking about entangling these multicultural identities with the societal and otherwise external aspects of one's identity. Then the author talks about immigrants feeling isolated and alienated. And this is normal for them in the United States. But then it says their American-born children are asked how they can be so proficient in English and that they feel alienated as well. And the strange thing is, even if they went to China, it would prove equally as unfamiliar. So they're caught in different worlds by how people perceive them from outside. The author's referring to what? Well, it's not fluency in different languages, although you saw the phrase in there about proficient in language. That's kind of bait. The quantity of close friends one can acquire? No, it's talking about how they're being alienated. And the political mood of a nation in which one lives? No, that's off topic. And the number of various nations one has resided in? No, that's not talking about being influenced by where you're residing. It's talking about a perception. It's talking about them feeling alienated and feeling like outsiders. So this is talking about, in E, the presumptions others have from the outside about someone's identity. In other words, they look different, behave differently. In question number 5, we want to know the author's opinion of Chinese American identity. When we read the passage, we can see that the author thinks that they felt isolation and alienation in the United States. Again, they're alienated here. And then the author also says that if they went to China, that would prove equally as unfamiliar because they'd stand out as foreigners there. Again, looking for reasons to eliminate answer choices, if we look at A, they are equally concerned and inquisitive about their heritage, both in America and Chinese. No, this is not talking about their heritage, it's talking about how they feel in those countries. that they make significant contributions? Well, we may or may not know that, but it's certainly not addressed in this passage. That they don't feel that they belong in China or America. Yep, it clearly states that. And then it talks about immigrants to America from China view Chinese Americans as role models. No, there's no mention of that. And that Chinese Americans take advantage of their multicultural heritage in their writing. Indeed, it kind of said the opposite. So C is our answer here. And in question number 6, we want to know the reason for the reference to the Joy Luck Club. And we can see that in the Joy Luck Club, Lindo tells her daughter that in China, they'll know you're a foreigner, even if you don't open your mouth, because they'll see your expression and posture and just know. So she'll still behave as a foreigner because she's grown up in America. And we've already established earlier that they feel alienated in America, possibly because of appearance. Okay, when we look at these answer choices, it says in A that they are troubled by the feeling of distance from their relatives. Okay, this has got some element of correctness in it because they are troubled, but it's not specifically by feeling distance from their relatives. So we can rule that one out if we find something better. That they should visit China to understand the culture? No, it's not recommending that. Again, it's talking about how they feel. That they feel isolated even in their ancestral homeland China. Yes, that could be our answer. That they feel isolated there. That they must interact with their Chinese? No. And that Chinese Americans have a tendency to be hopeful about life in China? That's something we may feel like they're thinking, but that's not what's stated in the passage. So here we have correct answer of C, they feel isolated.